Over 500 years ago, a man wrote the coldest, most brutally honest book about power ever put to paper. It wasn't about being a good person, it was about winning. Today, we are cracking open Niccolo Machiavelli's timeless playbook, a set of rules that, believe it or not, are still being used by the most powerful CEOs, politicians, and leaders on the planet to get control and to keep it. Right off the bat, forget everything you've learned about waiting your turn or asking for permission. Machiavelli's world operates on a completely different truth. Power is not some reward for good behavior. It's the inevitable result of strategic and, often ruthless action. It's all about making yourself a force that people simply cannot look away from. And this boils down to a pretty confronting question for you, for your own career, your own ambitions. Are you sitting around, waiting to be picked? Or are you out there building something so significant that the world has no choice but to pay attention? That decision, right there, is the foundation for everything we're about to get into.
Okay, so let's get into it. Act 1. The Ascent. This part is for anyone who isn't inheriting a kingdom, but is absolutely planning on taking one, whether that's in the corporate world or somewhere else.
Think about Mark Zuckerberg back in 2007. He just opened up Facebook's platform to outside developers. He didn't ask anyone for permission. It was a massive gamble. It was bold, and it's what turned a college website into the center of the entire internet. See, he knew if he waited, someone else, like Google, would beat him to it. So he just moved first and made everyone else play catch-up. That is classic Machiavelli. You don't wait for opportunity, you manufacture it.
And Machiavelli is crystal clear about this. Any power that's just handed to you, it's built on sand. It's fundamentally weak because you never had to learn how to fight for it. But the power you seize for yourself, the kind that's forged in struggle and strategy, well, that is built on solid rock. Sure, it's way harder to get, but once you have it, you know exactly what it takes to hold on. So, let's say you've taken over. Maybe it's a new company, a department, whatever. The single biggest mistake you can make is keeping the old guard around just to be nice. Why? Because people who are loyal to the way things were will never be loyal to your vision for the future. They will do nothing but defend the past and sabotage what you're trying to build.
I mean, look at what happened when Elon Musk bought Twitter. The very first thing he did was clear the board. To everyone on the outside, it looked like total chaos. But if you look at it through a Machiavellian lens, the logic is brutally simple. You have to eliminate old loyalties, and you have to do it immediately. The principle here is that power has to flow from one source. Any division, any split loyalty is a crack in the foundation that can bring the whole thing down.
Okay, this is one of the most controversial ideas in the whole book, but it is so important. Machiavelli argues that cruelty, when it's used correctly, is a strategic tool. Now, he's not talking about losing your temper or being unpredictably violent. No, he's talking about what he calls good cruelty, a single, decisive, painful act designed to restore order and draw a line in the sand.
And this formula right here, it's a masterclass in political theater. Cesare Borgia sent this absolutely brutal enforcer to crush a lawless province. Once the job was done and order was restored, Borgia had that same guy publicly and violently executed. The message was surgically precise. The violence is over, and I'm the one who ended it. He let someone else get their hands dirty, then stepped in and took all the credit as the savior. Genius, right?
For 20 years, the government in Afghanistan was propped up by foreign militaries and foreign money. From a Machiavellian perspective, this was never real strength. It was borrowed strength. The second that external support was pulled, the entire thing collapsed almost overnight. It's a harsh lesson, but it proves the point. Power you don't build yourself is, in the end, just an illusion.
So, you did it. You clawed your way to the top. Congratulations. Now for the really hard part, staying there. Let's move into Act 2, the reign.
To survive, Machiavelli says a leader has to be part human, part beast. And he gives us these two amazing symbols for this. You have to have the raw strength of the lion to scare away the wolves, but you also need the cunning of the fox to spot the traps. Think about it. The lion is pure force. It's intimidating, but it's also kind of dumb. It'll walk right into a trap without seeing it. The fox, on the other hand, is clever, strategic. It sees everything, but it can't fight. If you rely on just one of those, you're going to get taken out. The best leaders know how to switch between the two. They're not afraid to use brute force, but they are always thinking 3 moves ahead, ready to lie, to pivot, to break the rules to survive. And this, right here, brings us to one of his most brutal, most famous lessons. If you have to choose between being feared and being loved, always, always choose to be feared. This isn't about enjoying cruelty, it's about control.
See, Machiavelli's logic here is ice cold. Love is conditional. It depends on feelings, on gratitude. It can disappear the second things get tough. But fear? Fear is based on consequences, and that's something a leader can control. You can see this play out all the time. Leaders who want to be liked often end up vulnerable, but those who rule through absolute fear, like a Kim Jong-un, they stay in power because no one dares to even think about making a move against them.
But, and this is a huge but, there are rules. This is not a free pass to be a tyrant. Fear is a tool for creating structure, not a weapon for your ego. The moment it feels personal, the moment you start humiliating people or taking their property, that fear sours into hatred. And hatred is fatal. Fear keeps you in power. Hatred is what gets you overthrown.
This is so important. It matters way less who you actually are and way more who people believe you are. When Russia invaded Ukraine, Zelensky put on army green and walked the streets of Kyiv. Putin sat alone at the end of a ridiculously long table. One story was about courage and connection, the other was about isolation and distance. Perception isn't just part of the game, it's the entire battlefield.
All right, so you've taken power and you've held on to it. But what happens after you're gone? That brings us to the final act, making sure your power actually lasts.
Machiavelli had this incredible word for all the wild, unpredictable chaos of the world. He called it fortuna, or fortune. He believed that fortuna controls about half of our lives, but the other half, that's all you. It's about your preparation, your guts, and your willingness to act when that storm finally hits. Think about the 2008 financial crash. Most CEOs just froze, they hunkered down. But Elon Musk, he did the exact opposite. He poured the last of his money into Tesla and SpaceX, two companies that were literally on the brink of death. He didn't wait for the storm to pass. He charged right into the middle of it and built two empires. That's what mastering fortuna looks like. You don't hide from chaos, you harness it.
You know, when Steve Jobs died, so many people thought Apple was finished. But instead, it became the most valuable company in the world. Why? Because Jobs didn't just build cool products. He built a system, a culture, a machine that was so powerful it could keep running without him. A true legacy isn't your personal status. It's about building something that's bigger than you are.
And it all comes down to urgency. Back in 2007, Steve Jobs killed the iPod, the very product that saved Apple, to make room for the iPhone. He destroyed his own success because he saw what was coming next, and he knew that if you hesitate, you lose. Power doesn't wait around for the perfect moment.
You know, Machiavelli's final message wasn't just some abstract theory. It was a call to action. He saw a broken world around him, and he was pleading for a leader to rise up and just seize the moment. And those words from 500 years ago feel like a direct challenge to every single one of us today.
At some point, a rare window of opportunity is going to open up in your life, in your career. It's going to be risky, and it is not going to wait around for you to feel ready. So the final question isn't really about Machiavelli at all. It's about you. When that moment comes, will you act or will you let it pass you by?